Well, here I am with Mr. Kennedy. Mr. Kennedy.
That's all I get? That's all I get, huh? Just that little... Here I am with Mr. Kennedy.
Okay. Yeah.
Huh? I don't think it's funny. You see me laughing?
No, I don't see you laughing.
No.
Not at all.
Try it again.
All right.
You better do it better.
Okay.
Put some bass in your voice. Say it like you mean it.
All right, I will. All right. Here I am with Mr. Kennedy, one of the biggest stars of SmackDown on the planet.
The biggest star.
The biggest star of SmackDown on the planet.
Probably one of the biggest stars on the planet, period.
Now, I know, apparently, you used to be a security guard at a nuclear power plant.
Yep.
Before you were a wrestler, how did you go from that to being the biggest star?
Well, you know, I worked that job. It was a dead-end job. Actually, I had that job before I ever even dreamed about being a professional wrestler. And about 2 years in, I kind of fell in love with the business. I started training, had a couple matches, and then I spent the next 3 years turning down weekend bookings because I had to work on the weekends, and it was just a miserable dead-end job. I would sit in a box for 12 hours a day with a gun and a bottle of pepper spray, hoping and praying to God that somebody would jump over the fence, and nobody ever did, obviously. Yeah. And you know, it was just a dead-end job, and I remember spending countless hours just sitting there wondering, like, what can I possibly do to get out of here so that I can have time to devote to wrestling. And after about 3.5 more years of that, I finally just I walked in one day and I said, tomorrow's gonna be my last day. And I had secured a job as a personal trainer already in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and I went and I did that instead, and that allowed me to have my Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays open so that I could pursue independent bookings around the country and you know, eventually, you know, to get better, to wind up where I'm at right now. Well, sitting right here on this stupid chair next to this stupid guy. Okay. Next question.
Next question. WrestleMania in Detroit. Your first WrestleMania. Do you think it'll be the biggest night of your career?
Oh, without a doubt. You know, last year I started out in this company. I was on a huge roll, and I was in Italy, and I got, you know, a very devastating injury. I was out for 6 months, had to have surgery, and it really sucked for me to have to sit backstage at WrestleMania last year and watch everybody go out there and do their thing. And I remember just sitting back there thinking, like, you know, next year I'm going to be back, I'm going to be better than ever, and I'm going to go out there and make an impact, make a statement.
Tell me about Steve Austin.
Steve Austin, what do you want to know?
How do you feel about him? Apparently he's a guy you idolize.
Yeah. I wouldn't, well, idolize. I don't really idolize anybody. I've never been like a person who got like starstruck by anybody, but he was the guy that I wasn't into watching wrestling. I had fallen out of love with the business for a while. You know, I watched it when I was a kid, and then I kind of grew away from it. And I was at a buddy's house one night, and he forced me into watching wrestling. And I remember sitting there watching, and I saw him, I heard this glass break, and he came driving into the arena in a black pickup truck. He had a 6-pack of beer on his lap. He had one in his hand. He had, you know, a middle finger sticking out the window. Get the hell out of my way! And I just remember thinking, like, this guy's cool. And I just started watching, and right away he captivated my attention. And I started watching every week just to see what he would do, you know. And then I got sucked into all the other stuff, and I became such a huge fan of wrestling. And I remember I was such a huge fan. I would you know, he had a little, he called it the BMF walk, the way that he walked to the ring or whatever. Well, I would, as a security guard, we had to do patrol rounds, and they had cameras watching us, and the guys would sit in the, you know, the little monitoring stations and watch on camera, and I would do the BMF walk while I was doing my little.
I want to ask you what it stands for. BMF.
Bad mother.
I thought so.
Yeah, yeah. But anyways,
you're more than welcome to say it. It's no worries.
Oh, okay. Bad motherfucker.
Cool.
Okay, I can say bad motherfucker on TV here.
Anytime.
I gotta move here.
All right.
'Cause I like this place.
How did you come
Well,
up?
not really. But I like the fact that I can swear on TV. But anyway, don't cut me off.
All right.
I'm right in the middle of a good point here.
Okay.
Okay. The point is that Steve Austin is the guy that got me involved in this business, and I'm not going to say that I patterned myself after him, but he is definitely, you know, I've got countless tapes, hours and hours and hours of matches of stunning Steve Austin, of Stone Cold Steve Austin, of the Ringmaster, and you know, I've watched all these tapes, and I always, he was a workhorse. He was always moving, flying, moving around, entertaining the people, and you know, he was the biggest star that this industry has ever seen. And someday, I hope to live up to those standards. I'm gonna surpass Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Now, obviously, my
Oh hell yeah!
obviously my announcing needs a bit of work.
You think?
Yeah.
You know. Was that a question? Because, like,
no,
you know
no,
how they say that there's no
getting,
such thing as a stupid question?
I was getting
well, you just blew that out of the water.
I'm sorry, Mr. Kennedy. I'll start that again.
Because that was a stupid question.
All right. My announcing needs a
Next
little bit
question.
of work. How did you come up with announcing yourself?
I actually used to announce basketball games when I was in high school. And it was funny how it started. It was I was working in a mass media class. I had a mass media class in school, and we had to pick 3 mediums, and we had to make up a fictitious product and market that product, and we had to use, like, we could use whatever we wanted: poster, radio, television ads, and I picked those 3 mediums. And I did a radio ad, and I remember the teacher said, "Well, you got a really good radio voice. Like, you should consider maybe going into radio." And then she said, "Well, we need somebody to announce the basketball games, so I'm going to ask and she said she was going to ask the assistant principal at the time, who was the girls' basketball coach, who I did impersonations of all the time, if I could do the announcing. And so I started doing it, and somewhere along the line, somebody said, "Hey, you should start saying the last name twice. It's really funny, you know, like, coming to the arena, Jose Luis Garcia! Garcia!" And, you know, everybody thought, "Oh, that's great, it's so funny," and I remember I was down in OVW with the WWE, and Paul Heyman was writing the television down there, and he said, one night, he said, "I want you to come out and I want you to announce yourself." And the light bulb went off, and I was like, I used to announce basketball games in high school. I'm going to do it like that tonight, and I'm not going to tell anybody about it. I'm just going to go out there and do it. And when I did it, I came back to the locker room, and everybody was, "Oh, that was so great. You said your last name twice." And I was like, you know, it's funny. I worked 6.5 years to get to the WWE, and it took me saying my last name twice to really get recognized. You know, I was doing all the same things that I do now. My in-ring ability was, you know, the same or moving towards that level. But it took me saying my last name twice. So it was a combination of things. Paul Heyman and, you know, my history of being a basketball announcer. Next question!
Is the Mr. Kennedy that we see on SmackDown an extension of your true persona?
Yes. I would have to say, not all the time. I consider myself to be a normal guy. I like to do normal things, but you know, there are times, I guess, in any situation where I've ever been confrontational or needed to be confrontational with somebody, every time I've gotten into a fight or an argument with people, I usually go into Mr. Kennedy mode. And I remember it was funny because when I first started out in the business, I was doing independence, and I was having a real hard time, like, what's my character, you know, who am I, who is, you know, Kamikaze Ken Anderson at the time, and, you know, who is that? And I remember one night, one of my buddies pissed me off. I broke up with this girl, and he started calling her all the time and going over to her house and stuff like that. And I remember I called him up, and I cut a 30-minute promo on him, and my buddies were all sitting there, and they were just rolling around on the ground, laughing, you know, while I was cutting a promo on this guy. And I remember I hung up the phone with this guy, and they started laughing, and they said, "If you ever wonder what your character is, that's it right there. Anytime you're ever cutting a promo, you're talking to somebody, you're talking to the camera, remember this moment, because that's your character." And it just kind of clicked from there. So, and then, you know, the other thing too is that I get to go out there and do and say all the things that you want to say. Sure. That you know, this goofy camera guy here probably wants to say. This lady holding a microphone right here wants to say, wants to do, but I actually get to go out there and do it and say it and live it. Oh yeah. You people are jealous. Next question.
I had a feeling that was coming up. You've defeated 7 world champs in the last 12 months or so. Which victory are you most proud of, or which one stands out in your mind?
Well, you know, all of them. All of them, really. I mean, 7. You know, and you can't take any one of those talents lightly. You know, I mean, you're looking at Rey Mysterio, you're looking at Booker T, King Booker, Batista, Undertaker, Kane, Chris Benoit, and I'm missing somebody in there. Who is it? Who is it? See, I've beaten so many that I start to forget. I lose track. But I mean, these are guys that I, came up watching and learning from, and to be able to go out there and pin their shoulders to the mat 1, 2, 3 is I have to say thank you to those people for teaching me, and for teaching me basically to whoop their asses. You think it's funny?
No, not at all. I think
Then
it's
why'd you
brilliant.
laugh?
I laughed
Then why'd
because
you laugh? That's
you
what I
said
wanna-
whoop their asses, and I thought that's a cool phrase. I like the way you said it. It's a compliment. You haven't won a world title though, have you?
What did you just say?
I don't think you've won a world title.
I haven't won a world title. Have you been paying attention to what's been going on in the WWE since I've gotten to SmackDown? Huh? Okay? With all these people that I've beaten, that I've practically destroyed in the ring, Teddy Long keeps screwing me over again and again and again and again and again. And apparently you didn't see the match at the Royal Rumble when I had Batista pinned. I had him pinned, the crowd counted along with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, all day. You know what? I'm sick and tired of people like you. I'm sick and tired of people like you making stupid statements like that. You know what? I've been a nice guy, but you know what? I'm tired of being a nice guy because nice guys always finish last. So you know what? Thank God I'm an asshole.